There we go.
Feel free to start, Kristen.
Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for attending our Tech Talk for today, in which we'll be hearing from Daniella, Joan Francisco about certain aspects that make competitive programming different from its sister fields. So just some information about Joan Francisco. She's a graduating student of Philippine Science High School, Sorsogon Region Campus. She pioneered a programming camp on campus and regularly competes in the National Olympiad in Informatics of the Philippines. And also, she loves poet designs, singing in the shower, and fangirling over 2D characters. So, John, can you start?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank Develop for this wonderful opportunity for inviting me to talk. I mean, I've taken a break from CS in general because of, being an 11th grader that's full of research and requirements and other stuff like that. And I'm really thankful for this opportunity because this, I don't know, was like a kind of wake-up call or like a sign that I should probably get back on my feet or something. Also, special mention to my friend Israel Gunay for making the PowerPoint that I have today. It's so good, guys, and she's such a great graphic artist. So, over with the introductions, let's get started. So, my topic for today would be flipping the coin in competitive programming and informatics. So, first of all, what is informatics or competitive programming? It can be called informatics. That's why certain programming competitions are called National Olympiad in Informatics or something. And it is a mind sport that is held over the internet or a local server usually. By that, there are certain websites where they hold competitive programming competitions like HackerRank, Code Forces, at Coder, and certain lot of stuffs. But there are also competitive programming competitions that have their competitions over a local server. So they just have this centralized PC, and then there's like lots of PCs other there, and then that's where participants code, and then there's this program wherein they submit their codes, and then the judge checks it and then returns a verdict or something. And then it solves what definitely is competitive programming is that it solves a logical or mathematical problem in the quickest way possible using algorithms and data structures. This is what mainly sets competitive programming about other different fields of computer science, because you're solving this very specific problem different with different possible solutions, but then you need to get the best way to solve the certain problem in the quickest way, in the less time taxing way, and also the one that takes up the less space. And then you use algorithms and data structures for that. And then there's usually two types of solutions that you can submit in a certain competitive programming problem: brute force and optimized solution. Let's give an example. Are you guys familiar with this certain way to solving the sum from numbers 1 to n? In normal circumstances, or I don't know, if you want a brute force solution, you would want to have this loop that stores the answer in a counter, and then it just goes off, it just goes over. It's technically like you're starting from 1 and then adding it with 2 and adding it with 3 and so on and so forth until you reach n. That's a brute force solution because you go all throughout the actual process to get the answer. But then there's this optimized solution of it. It's the equation n times n minus 1 over 2. You know that it's a formula that gets the sum from 1 to n. And that's what you call the optimized solution, because you just do one computation and then that's it. You get the answer right away. if you compare it to the brute force solution, which goes over the entire series of numbers that you're going to add, you can see the difference when you solve it, because the other one is time taxing. Imagine having 1 billion numbers to add. It's gonna take you 1 billion times to go over that loop. If you do the optimized solution, you're just gonna get this, O of 1 solution or something. And that's the basics of competitive programming. Actually, there's this certain problem that I would want to share with everyone, because it's a really popular problem. I think you've heard it if you're a CS student or something. I think you know that the traveling salesman problem, wherein there's a number of cities that a traveler can go, and then you need to find the shortest path in visiting all of them. If you think of it, if you try to find the solution of like trying to go to each route of what the traveler can take over, it's gonna take you a lot of time to compute that. Imagine it's n factorial, and imagine how large n factorial can go. It exponentially increases, like the number of steps you need to solve that problem increases exponentially. And then that's a very famous problem that's actually can get you a Nobel Prize. Was it a Nobel Prize or something? uh, there are existing solutions of it though that uses higher level algorithms like dynamic programming. I know some of competitive programming people here already know that solution, but then it's not really that actual best solution. And also it's debated whether that problem actually has this fast solution or not. I won't delve into the details because that would be too technical and that would make this whole thing boring. I should have just done a competitive programming camp regarding that if I'm going to tackle about that. And so let's move on. These are the certain things that makes informatics or competitive programming different from other fields of computer science. First of all, it's fast paced and just short term. Whenever you deal with software development, it takes you a long time. It's like it takes you months. It takes you years to create this program, create this application, create this certain software that you need to develop. But then in competitive programming, we don't do that here. It's very fast. Some competitions, the longest competition that I've joined in competitive programming took like a week or two, and then that's it. And then you're just given this set of problems that you can solve in a span of days. The shortest one would just take an hour or two. Like it's the same format. Solve a number of problems and then do it under an hour or two or something. And then there would be times that it is short, but then it feels really long, like 5 hours. Imagine sitting in front of your computer for 5 hours straight without going out, without taking any water, without, I don't know. It's just you and the computer just thinking about the solutions, and then sometimes it gets you brain dead and super tired at the end. But the euphoria after getting a certain solution is what makes it worth it. Also, it cares less about coding styles. I know some of you are watching here thinking that thinking that syntax and naming conventions and semantics are so important when it comes to coding. I know that, I get that a lot, but then in competitive programming, you technically do not have to be that strict about it. I mean, you should make your code readable for the judges to read it. You shouldn't just randomly trash names in your variables or like put curse words on them. I did that once in a certain competitive programming competition. It was bad. uh, it's just that they do not care that much about naming conventions, like how in Python, you like the naming convention in Python is that you have to uh, do this certain case called snake case, wherein you separate each word with underscores, and then it's all in lowercase, and then in C++, you should have this camel case and then Pascal case in Java, etc. We technically kind of don't. We actually we care less about it. It's not that we don't care. It's just we care less about that. And then lines in competitive programming do not reach 1,000. The lines would probably somewhere between, if it's a really short problem, it would just take you 20 lines or sometimes one line if you use Python, that is. The longest I wrote once was about 100 or 200 lines, but then some of the lines were really long, and I know it's a bad habit, but if you contrast this to software development or game development that reaches like 5,000 lines or 10,000 even, it sets them apart. It's concise, and we have this convention in competitive programming about your code, wherein there's this certain fragment of your code that would take up 80% of the whole runtime of your program. It's like the crucial part of it. It's it's kind of a bit technical, but it the that topic would probably come into the asymptotic analysis, which will be discussed later. And then it's usually solo, usually talking in the context of high school competitive programming. Example, IOI and NOI, they're all solo programming competitions, but then the college level of IOI, the ACM, ICPC, they have it by team actually. But then as of now, I'm used to having solos. But then I'm not crossing out the possibility of having team competitive programming competitions, but it's usually solo in the context of high school competitions. And then the wrong solutions are far from actual development. This is like kind of a very interesting part of it, because you would get this verdict from the online judge when you submit this certain solution to your problem. It's usually either accepted, wrong answer, time limit exceeded, memory limit exceeded, and some other stuff. And then that solution or that verdict is very far from the errors that you can actually get when you do software development in general. Because in actual software development, it would take you like hundreds of errors and like bugs and different things that you need to polish over time just to get, or just to polish or perfect your program or code or something. But then in competitive programming, it's just like kind of a one-shot big time kind of thing, because if you get this certain verdict, you know that there's something wrong in your program, and you can tweak a little bit part of your program or a certain algorithm that you have, and then you can submit it all over again. But then in the actual development, it kind of builds up. Like a wrong would induce another certain mistake, and then it just builds up, and then you have to continuously improve your program in order to at least make your application a little bit better. And so let's go to the good, the bad, and the dirty of competitive programming. Do you guys get the reference of the good, the bad, and the dirty? I mean, this is some Panic at the Disco reference that I use because I'm such a trash for Panic at the Disco. So first of all, we have the good. First of all, it teaches you the logical, analytical, and algorithmic knowledge that you need when you go into the tech industry, like shortest path problems, graphs, number theory, discrete math, and lots of things. And then it's an advantage in passing technical interviews. We know that when you apply to a certain company, they would give out technical interviews. Like, how would you solve this? How would you solve that? What kind of algorithm do you need to use in this? If ever you encountered a problem like this, how are you going to contribute? It's a really how to center div. I mean, that kind of can possibly be one. But then there's this certain there's yes, Ryan Ross, yes. No, I still prefer Brendan or ano or Dallon, yes. Uh Also there's this certain cracking the code interview kind of session in HackerRank wherein you can go over the problems there because they give you the problems that are usually given in technical interviews, and it becomes a great advantage when you apply it to certain tech companies. Yeah, there's cracking the code interview in HackerRank. It just technically runs over crucial topics that might appear in your technical interviews once you apply to tech companies. Uh, Also, this kind of thinking, the thinking that competitive programming gives you would actually help you when you go to certain different kinds of fields, like the proper problem solving skill that you have to go through, like first analyzing the problem, uh, and then running over the possible solutions to the problem, and then finding the best solution or modifying the best solution or even combining those solutions in order to solve that certain problem. One famous application of that in our school is research, because research is such a tedious subject in school. Like, no joke. And the methodology just goes super detailed. And I think one of the advantages that I had when I was writing our research was that I was knowledgeable with the problem solving skill process, the analytical process that usually competitive programmers think or do or go over their heads whenever they're trying to solve a problem. It's actually mentioned also by Ate Hillary Andales that uh, if besides choosing electives for the grade 11 or 12, I guess, they should she encouraged them to take CS because RCS would discuss, data structures, algorithms, and it's really helpful when it comes to research. It's like the basic literary skill that you need to have whenever you do your thesis or something. And then let's go to the, dirty stuff. First of all, unmute there. Okay. Did I make myself clear earlier from the good? Okay, this is the start technically. Then going back, the bad part of competitive programming is that it doesn't teach you frameworks, which is the basic thing that you need to learn when go into the software engineering industry or software development industry. Like, there are a lot of people that ask me, do you know this framework? Do you know how to do that? Do you know how to do that? I mean, I do have certain other frameworks. I'm not really that deep into it or super knowledgeable about it because my focus was technically solving problems and mastering a certain language, and then using it to your advantage when you. Oh, the screen share stop. Okay, wait. Chrome tab. And then it doesn't teach you when go into. There are a lot of people certain knowledges about other frameworks as well as technically solving problems, using it to your advantage when you. Okay. And then bad part of competitive programs teach you frameworks, software engineering. So that's it, frameworks or something. As of now, I am learning some frameworks, but then it's not really my main focus as of now because I was focusing on competitive programming that time, and but then as of now, I kind of really need to. So then don't expect any frameworks like what Django or something to come out of competitive programming out of nowhere. And then going next, it doesn't necessarily ensure you slot in your dream company. There's this lot of misconception around that, oh, this guy is a medalist in IOI. Oh, this guy know how to competitive programming. We should definitely hire that person. No, it doesn't go that way. I know a lot of people would think that it's a sure ball pass to your tech, to your, oh, IOI. Oh, this guy know how. That it gives you that advantage. It doesn't necessarily ensure you that slot, because there's so much more to solving problems. When you go into a certain company, you need to show your cooperation skills. You need to show your, I don't know, the non-technical things when you apply to companies, because they don't just see your abilities whenever you apply. They also would want to see your attitude, your work ethics, your technically how you would be in a certain environment that does software development or something. And so just don't think that once you got this medal from IOI, you can enter Google right away. You can go into this super large tech company in Silicon Valley right away, because it doesn't work that way. And then also, I know there's this trend about machine learning, artificial intelligence, image processing, and cryptography that's so popular right now in tech companies. Like when they hear that you you do machine learning and artificial intelligence, companies are just gonna like, whoa, oh really, you do that? Okay, let's hire that person. Then in competitive programming, we don't really tackle that, although there are interactive problems, which I myself isn't that familiar, because the time that became popular, I was already, taking a break from uh, competitive programming. And so these topics are really, really crucial when you apply. Like at least you should have like, knowledge about them. But then competitive programming doesn't teach that, because this is like a really long, these topics are really long and tedious to do. It doesn't fit the short term title of competitive programming, if you think of it. Especially machine learning, God knows how many hours that training, went by when we did our research last year. And let's go to the dirty part of it. Yes, there is a higher chance for you to enter a tech company when they know that you're a medalist from this certain competition. But then there's actually this research that says that the winner correlates negatively to one's performance in the company, especially in Google or something. I just the links would be to follow, but there's this certain research about that. It doesn't mean that you're a medalist in competitive programming. It would, you know instantly make your performance better in that certain company, because again, there's so much more into working into the tech scene just from solving problems. There's really so much more beyond that. Also, the competitive programming culture cultivates this small reward and short-term goals. Usually, from my experience also, whenever you have this certain problem that you really wanted to solve, oh my god, it's our clock is ringing again. I'm so sorry. It's so scary. I know it rings every, I don't know, 30 minutes an hour. Going back, uh the competitive programming culture cultivates this thought in your mind. Example, you're you're focusing on this certain problem, and then when you solve it, you get this reward for yourself. Like, the satisfaction that you get from solving this problem that you really wanted to solve for a long time. And then you finally solved it. And then, there's this euphoria. And then you get this satisfaction that, yes, my goal has been reached. But then that's a really, really short term goal. And the rewards for it are really small compared to actual software development, wherein it takes long months for you to finish your application, for you to perfect your system, for you to create your application. It's a long time. It's a long-term goal. But then in competitive programming, we don't do that. Unless if you count the long-term, if you count as a long-term goal, being a medalist or being this participant in the Google Code Jam or something. And also, again, as mentioned earlier, this doesn't teach proper coding styles. It cares less about what you actually put there. There was this one time in this certain programming camp that uh, this certain teacher was sharing how to create this segment trees. I know people here from the competitive programming scene already knows this certain data structure, the segment trees. And then there was this one time our sir just wrote the variable as basura, like no joke. It was like, so what? Also sometimes you would uh I know some of the people here are pissed whenever, because I share my code sometimes as reference for other people. I know some people here are so pissed with me using X, Y, and Z as my counters. I know a lot of people are like so mad. Why are you using this? Why are you using that? And then they're reprimanding me for not using I or J or K. And like whenever I reach Z and then I needed another counter, I would just put X1 and then X2 and then X3 and then so on and so forth. I mean, if you're an actual software developer, this is a nightmare for you. I know. And then one of the things that I really found whack, I guess, whenever I write code in competitive programming, I always glorify global variables whenever I do competitive programming, because there's a lot of advantages when you do global variables in competitive programming. I promise you, because it makes things easier. It can be accessed by all of your functions. It automatically, the values of your variable would automatically be this certain value that you can use to your advantage. But then some of my software developer friends, hi Sir Lance, would often get mad at me for using global variable. Like, oh my god, that would cost you this and that. That's like a super bad habit when you go to the tech scene. You should not use this. And it just shows the difference between the two worlds. Like for us, it's global variables are like heaven, and but then uh tech people or software development people would see it as a nightmare. And I just found it so, I don't know, funny and whack how two sister fields can actually argue so much about global variables. And then going over that, as of now, we're done with, basic definition of competitive programming and the good, the bad, and the dirty. Let's go, if you're interested on, how to start in competitive programming. I know it's so hard and intimidating to start. I'm just gonna share my, story about how I started here. There was this one friend of mine who, I was bored, and then, I just chatted him like, "What are you doing?" And then he told me, "I'm doing Noi." And I'm like, What's Noi? What? And then he just sent me a bunch of links of Noi problems, and then the first time I opened them, I was like, "What the heck is this? What?" Ah, and imagine the horror of my grade itself, who just started to learn C++ because that's a curriculum of Bisay. And then at first it was really hard because I couldn't even understand stuff like, you're gonna output this, what's the C in, what's the C out, etc, etc. And then looking at it now, it was actually the simplest problems in the whole training of, or the whole practice page of Noi. It was just multiplying two numbers. Oh my god, grade itself, what was so hard about that? And then, at first I wasn't really that serious about it. But then, summer came, and then more stuff. I was just enlightened because I joined this certain competition in Code Chef. It was like this code jam in Code Chef. Then I told myself that, hey, this is pretty cool. Okay, this is nice. And then I started problems, I started materials, I started mastering this certain. No, I didn't. No, it's Code Chef. As in like Code Chef, like the one who cooks, like the code chef. Yeah, that kind of thing. I'm gonna link them later. I have this certain list of all the programming sites that you can use to practice. Yeah, that Code Chef. Yeah, thank you. And then it just went from there on. And then I started practicing. I would, for anyone from Pisay here, please just we're not allowed to use our laptops after surrender times. We're supposed to surrender. I have this certain list. Yeah, that Coach F. I started practicing. I would think of it during my grade 8 and grade 9 years. I didn't have my own laptop, and so I was coding. I was practicing different people's laptops. Like I have this flash drive that's just full of notes. Then I would just transfer laptops with whoever laptop was free, either my roommate or my classmate or my teacher or my dorm manager whenever I stay at the dorm. It was just really whack because you can see that if you really want to learn something, you can always find a way to learn it. Can't It's still so hard to believe that I was actually laptop hopping when I was in grade 9 just to practice competitive programming. And I got my laptop when I was third quarter in grade 9. It was nice. Now I finally have my own laptop. And then if anyone's interested on how to start, this is my quote unquote algorithm on how to start in competitive programming. First of all, you should choose a certain programming language that you can use or be comfortable with. The ones that are usually allowed in competitions is Python, C++, and Java. Each of these languages have their own perks. Okay, you can have these perks whenever you choose a certain language. I use C++ because it's the fastest language that runs that the fastest language that can compile. And then if you're into string manipulation is technically I I know if you do string manipulation a lot, and then combinatorics and iterations. I know some of you are familiar with the term. Use Python, but then for goddamn sake, don't use Java. Char, I'm such a bitter ass, for Java. I hate Java. I'm so sorry. I mean, for all the Java programmers out there, I'm so sorry, but Java is just no. It I just run between either on C++ or Python, but never in Java. You just don't Java. Like the C out is like so long, and like all the declarations are like so. Oh my god. Dan, you already know why I don't like Java. It's tedious. It's so OOP. So oop. I don't oop. And the next thing you should do is study time and space complexity. I have materials in that I'm going to share to everyone, but it's just technically the analysis of how long would your program take for it to solve a certain problem. Also along with space. It's the formal name of this is asymptotic analysis. It's really complicated. It's kind of complicated, but then once you get a hang of it, you can actually it's pretty good. But then it takes time, but I won't delve much into that. Also, get to know data structures, algorithms, and discrete mathematics. This is the core thing that you need to do when you do competitive programming. You can survive without data structures, algorithms, and mathematics because competitive programming revolves around that. Remember the definition that it's logical and mathematical problems. I will be sharing resources later for everyone to just read about. Go to online judges also. The online judges will be shared later, but it's technically sites wherein you can practice competitive programming. Also, practice regularly. I tell you, this is so important. Like before, whenever I have my free time in school, I would always practice programming. Like I would just sit outside the hallway and just with my laptop open, like doing this. Like, oh my god, I got this nickname from everyone, like the one who sits in the hallway just doing this to her laptop. It pays a lot when you practice. Again, there's no perfection, but the more you practice, the more polished you get. And lastly, join competitions like Google Code Jam, ACM, ICPC, NOI, IOI. There's certain uh, competitions that can be joined in summer QC area, like uh, Ateneo's Disc Pro. That's such a good competition, especially for high schoolers. There's Algo Olympics for college students. There's like really lots of sources. You just need to be pretty masipag. I don't know how to translate that. When you try to find certain competitions, there's a lot online, I tell you. And here are the resources I use: Hackerang, Code Courses, Code Chef, Yuva, Project Lawyer, at Coders, Geeks for Geeks. I have these books also, and these books mentioned will be in the Drive folder that I will be sharing later. Yes, I will be sharing this folder full of my resources for everyone who's interested to go with it. You know, these are what they look like. And last but not the least, I would want to talk about women in competitive programming because this is such a uh, crucial thing for me as a girl who does NOI almost every year for like 2 years straight. Uh, I just wanted to share that for the time that I was in NOI, that I went to the finals, I was like the only girl there, and you feel the intimidation that like, oh my god, it's all boys. Uh, y- I can't I can't explain the nervousness that you feel whenever you're there, because sometimes you feel like a bit suffocated. Yeah, Progvar. Yes, Progvar. I love Progvar so much. Going back, but then I'm so glad because there are female volunteers last night, and it was really nice, and it made me feel at least when I uh participated in NOI last year. uh but then in competitive programming, this actually amplifies the already tipping scales of gender in tech. We already know that the ratio is so far from each other, and then competitive programming just amplifies that. Also, note that women only take 30% of IOI. Imagine, like, there's thousand, no, actually not thousand, but hundreds of delegates for IOI, but then there's only 3% of women participating there, and Philippines doesn't even have a female participant yet. If I am I right, Dan? I think, yeah. And then for the whole my insight on-site round, there were only 4 qualified women since 2014, including me. And like, I'm so happy because this year there was like another girl there. I was so happy. Yeah, and it was sad because I was like the only one for like, am I right? Then for the whole night, hoping for more rounds, but sad, but at least now more opportunities hopefully. Also, I think it's also attuned with the culture of choosing participants for Olympiads, because female high schoolers are pushed to other Olympiads like biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics. They're all pushed to those kinds of fields because they generally think na she's a girl, she most probably can't handle com sci because it's a boys thing or something, and it doesn't sit well on me. Parang it's so bad that they're gender stereotyping even Olympiads. It's like, oh my god, guys, it's 2020. uh Also, there's this pressure and intimidation when you know there's this pressure and intimidation knowing that you're the sole girl there. like everyone's pressuring you that, hey, you should do good because you're like the only girl there, etc., etc. You're representing the minority. You should do this. You should do that. And that's really nerve wracking, especially if you don't know how to handle pressure well. Um, Not really. I'm not telling that that led to what made me take a break from competitive programming or comsci in general, but I think there's a small part of it that pressuring me to participating as the sole woman. Like there's 29 boys in the room, you're the only girl there. You some There would be times that competition would be on your period, and like it would feel so uncomfortable sitting like 5 hours there just staring at your laptop. It's a really shaky and intimidating field, and so I think that's why less women would want to get their hands on competitive programming. And also, despite women entering CS in college, there's only a very few fraction of them who takes competitive programming. Imagine, like, it's like a funnel. Uh, yes, there's lots of women already trying to get their hands on SCOMSci right now, but then just a few of them would actually want to, try to get their hands on competitive programming, and so the number gets smaller, especially because they have certain misconceptions about how competitive programming would go, how the things would process, how's I don't know everything would technically go, plus the pressure, intimidation, and everything that contributes to women's intimidation in competitive programming. But then I do hope that my talk could, I don't know, encourage people that it's okay for you to be part of competitive programming because it's such a fun field. It was my stress reliever when I was, like tipping the scales of sanity before. It was a really good outlet for me, and it opened my horizons about uh, what's happening in the tech scene, what's you know uh, how fun the community is, because oh my god, they're so whack. There's so many weeaboos, there's so many anime lovers, there's so many gamers. It's like, oh my god, it's not really a shit posing group, but it's a very fun community to be with. And I do hope that by analyzing the coin of competitive programming from its heads to its tails to its edges to its ridges, I do hope that I enlighten some of your questions when it comes to competitive programming, especially for aspiring women who wanted to be a part of it. And I thank you everyone for attending my talk or something. I know it's really not so technical. It's more of just sharing my insights and my views about you know competitive programming in general. But I do hope that this would, I guess, make you take a shot on competitive programming. And thank you so much for attending and for listening to my talk, guys. I really appreciate this. Yeah, boo gender roles. So it's such, I don't know, it's just stupid because uh they labeled Comsci as this all boys club or something, where in fact, it should be open to all. So that's it. Thank you everyone for joining. I really hope that you learned a lot or had good insights about competitive programming in general.
Thank you so much for that presentation. We'll now be proceeding to the Q&A portion
This
of
is
the
so
talk.
scary.
Okay, so here's what we've been getting from Paula. I'll be starting with problem-related questions first. Can you demonstrate your thought process on solving a really simple problem on HackerRank or LeetCode right now? Thought process.
Right now. Thought process. Should I wait. Let's
If you want to
share.
share like you solve it on any of those websites, then go lang. I think it
Yeah,
would
is
like
it
help
fine?
more if it's visualized.
Is it really? It's okay. Let's do this.
Go,
Wait.
let's go.
Oh my god, I haven't signed in from my hacker rank because it's been so long since I coded. so funny because the last time I coded was APIO 2019, and it was literally like a year ago, exactly a year ago. Yeah. Share. There we go.
You have to like warm up a bit, or you're like going into this like this straight like.
I'm trying to find questions. Wait lang. Oh my
Love
god,
that
you're gonna
profile pic.
you're gonna say wait, choto mate. There we go. Oh my god, this is so scary. I don't even know if yeah, I did solve this, I think. Did
Okay,
I?
take us from the start. Yes.
Wait. Let's find like an interesting problem that I Day of the Programmer, was it? No, solve me first or simple array sum. Time convention. Okay. Let's just do this because this is like the simplest problem here. Like, so given an array of integers, find its sum of its elements. Okay, so it's just technically you're given this problem that asks you to get the sum of all the things. First of all, I would try to tell what the program wants to show up. So you go to the constraints, you go to the output program, you go to the input format, because this is such a crucial part of your program, because it should, yeah, look at this. This shows you how the variables or the values are being inputted. So, without that, you would have a hard time trying to uh, trying to how to put your values into your program, and also how to output them. And then I would usually try to think of a way. I would try to think of the brute force way first. Like, technically, as you can see here, you can store them in an array and then go over them and then output the answer. And then after thinking of the brute force solution, I would go to the optimization part. Like, I would think, do I really need
Wait,
the
sorry.
space?
A
Okay.
question as someone who's super non-technical. Can you explain in basic terms like what's the brute force solution?
Brute
Yes.
force is the how do you explain this? Going over the problem, like literally how it is stated. Like, let's say you're asked to find the shortest path to one place or another, and there will be multiple paths. Brute force would be trying all of the paths individually, like going from A to B and then B to C, or then A to C and then C to B, and then so on and so forth. You just technically go through every possible solution that is there. Sucks,
So
right?
that's why it's brute.
Yeah, it's brute. Yeah, it's trial and error. It's so tedious, it's so long, it's so time consuming. And our goal in competitive programming is to solve it the fastest way. And then you have the optimized solution, which then leads to optimizing stuff. So let's go here, #include iOS stream char using namespace std main. And then I would ask myself, do you really need the space that you needed to occupy when you store the values in an array? Is there a shorter way to do this? Is there a shortcut? Is there a principle that I can use? Is there a hack that I can use? Is there a black magic that I can use? Competitive programming people already knows this word black magic, because there's lots of tips and tricks when you do competitive programming problems that uses black magic, such as bit masking and then this algorithm or whatnot. And so actually here, you don't need to store them in an array, or you don't need to store them in an array, because you can just get the value and then add it to a counter. That's it. So let's go here. Sum is equals to 0. INTN, no. So, ito, INTN, Sum is equals to. I'm literally forgetting how to code. Oh my god. I am. Is it allowed? Let's just do it. For int x is equals to 0, x is less than. Oh, just kidding. This is so. I literally forgot how to code already. This is so bad. C in. I should put temp. Yeah. C in temp, and then sum plus equals to temp, and then C out sum. You can see here that these are the variable declaration, and then this is the inputting the n, which is the first line of an integer n, which denotes the number of elements that you have in a certain array. And then this loops goes over to all of that n, inputs it to a temporary variable. I know definitely a lot of people give me upon seeing how I name my variables, but yeah, this is my normal naming conventions. And then you add it to your counter, which is sum, because this would accumulate all of the sum of the supposedly elements of that certain array, and then this displays it and you submit it. I don't even know if it's gonna work or something, but technically it should. So long. Wait. Is there something wrong with hacker right now, or am I just being a klutz right now? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and then these are the test cases that denotes. These are test cases that are going to be used to your program and would denote whether your program is correct or not. This is what I didn't discuss earlier. There would be test cases or inputs that have pre-existing outputs, and your output should match their existing, because this would be elements of that certain. I don't even know if it's gonna so low. Like right now, or am I just being a class? There we go. Yeah, there are test cases that are going to be used to your program. In short, your algorithm is okay. Your solution is fine. You're good to go. Otherwise, if there's this, just single test case that's wrong, then your whole code is wrong. Tricky test cases in order to actually test and maximize time limit of your code, or the efficiency and the efficiency and optimization of it, something like that. So yeah, that's how I would usually go over things.
All right, thank you. Now, another problem-related question. What are some of the most fulfilling problems that you solved? You can show us here. Also.
Oh no, that would definitely some of the code forces problems, I think. Code forces is like so hard. I mean,
what makes it so hard? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's the technicality or the principles used, but then in HackerRank, it's like they kind of spoon feed you in a sense, because it's not really spoon feed, but if you compare HackerRank and Code Forces, Code Forces is definitely harder than HackerRank, because the the principles are different. The algorithms needed to use are more advanced. The Sometimes it's actually mixed. Oh my god, it's gonna ring 10 times. I'm so sorry, guys. It's so scary that that clock of mine. I know.
Go ahead, continue.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's actually kind of the bell in Ateneo, but then it's our clock from a Japanese surplus that my parents got. And it rings every hour. And it's so irritating.
So what code forces?
Yeah, wait. I haven't shared it, right? Let me just share it here. Oh my god. Wait. This is so Yon. Oh my god, everyone's gonna see my. Oh, this is so disgusting. This is so submissions. Let's go to my submissions. I definitely had some. Look at the road construction. I had this problem that was Sudfill. No. Ah, was it this or was it this? There was this thing about ants that I really was so happy that I solved. Look at all the wrong answers, guys. Guys, look at all the wrong answers.
Trial and error, guys. Is it
It's
benchmark
so.
now?
What do you mean benchmark?
Question from Raymart. They benchmark it. Can you expound on that, Raymart?
Yeah, because I don't get what
Your
benchmark
solutions
is.
now.
Yeah, they have my solutions here, but yeah, they do store my solutions here. Like I think it's part of it. Like yeah, like these. Oh my god, wait, is it cut? Okay, there we. Oh my god, that sucks.
So what made it like super fulfilling for you? Like, yes.
It's super fulfilling because it's number theory, and I can't emphasize to you guys how much I suck at number theory, how much I suck at mathematics, guys. No
That's
joke.
our next question.
Yeah, Kyle, I know. Don't don't chastise me about this. Yeah, I suck at math. Like I bow way at data structures and algorithms because I suck at math so bad. This is like a super complex problem. You can see it's F, and the higher the letter is from the alphabet, the harder the problem is. So imagine I could usually only solve what A to C problems, but then I solved this F problem for the first time, and it was so like the joy I felt. It was so good. This is a
How long did it take?
This took like a week or two, I guess. A week or week 2 or 3. I don't know. But it was so long, and I was so happy that I actually solved it. Wait, is it showing the right? Oh no, it's not. I see. Wait, there we go. This is a Fenwick tree plus a number theory plus bit masking problem, and then I'm okay with Fenwick and segment trees in general. I know these are technical terms. Competitive programming people will probably get this part, but then there's number theory attached on it, and then there's bit masking, which are the two aspects that I'm really bad about it. And there's dynamic programming here also, which is like another weak point of mine. And this, yeah, I know, guys, it looks so overwhelming. I myself was so overwhelmed the first time I solved this. Like, look at that. At first, I couldn't understand the thing. But then, after weeks of sleepless nights, I got the problem.
What helped you
You guys
solve
can,
it?
read it. Actually, I was not really asking for help, but I was asking people around, like, people from the competitive programming scene. I think Dan Batteries na actually helped me with this problem. Did I, Dan?
Share
I
your
remember kind of
secrets,
asking
Dan.
about I know. I mean, Dan is like super math guy, He probably have this thing. I mostly ask help for this in the mathematics part because I really suck at math. I can't emphasize it enough. And then I also asked help in the bit masking part. But then once I got a hang of the both of the concepts, and then trying to integrate it with my knowledge about segment trees and Fenwick trees, it actually blended well, and then I solved the problem.
All right. Now, speaking of math, here's a question from Davidson Co. Forgive me if I got the wrong impression, and please correct me. But it seems like competitive programming is about making simplified mathematical equations as opposed to writing code. In this case, is it possible to be a good competitive programmer? without being as skilled in mathematics or perhaps unfamiliar with a mathematical problem, maybe something like vector calculus using Taylor series or Jacobian matrices.
The last part was
Basically,
overwhelming.
can you be good?
The last part was so overwhelming. Like I was hearing vector matrix. I'm like, yes, I know that. I once tried that. Oh my god, no. But then it is, but I would want to emphasize that it's not all. Not all problems in competitive programming is like that. Yes, some of them is very math heavy, but then actually not all of them would be, because some would focus on data structures like segment trees, certain algorithms, stacks, queues, linked lists, and whatnot. Lots of data structures. But then, uh, if you're asking if you could be a good competitive programmer without, being a math lord or something, guys, look at the person in front of you. Hands down, my grade in mathematics usually in PSI is like DOS. Not kidding. And I got in the finals with barely passing the math part of NOI. And so, I just believe that you have to know the basics. And if ever you can compete with, or you don't have the niche for math in it, I suggest you specialize yourself in algorithms and data structures, because it's a really great advantage. Although in my experience in NOI, 50% of the problems would be mathematics, 50 would be data structures and other parts, and that kind of sucked for me because I was bad at math. But then in some competitions, the majority of the problems that would come out are algorithms and data structures, and some of them are interlaced with math, but then not all. Again, I would like to emphasize, not all competitive programming problems would focus on math, although some would be really, really, really math heavy, but then not all of them. So you still have the chance to do so.
Right. Okay, next question. How are the people in the competitive programming scene in the PH?
This is a good question. This is now a You're welcome. This is a very nice question, actually, because personally for me, what I found the best in the competitive programming scene in the Philippines is the community itself. Guys, no, our Discord is not scary. Oh my god. You just haven't caught the time that we begin shit posting about problems, and then making cross reference to the memes that appears in the problems. It happens a lot. Noi people already knows how heavily referenced the problems are in pop culture and weeb culture and gaming culture and meme culture. No joke. If you run over the problems, oh my god, you're just gonna laugh your ass off because of the references that they have. Yes, chaotic neutral. Actually, yeah, it is like the chaotic energy just burst out. The people in Noi in general, they're so fun and cool. And I really like the fact that they don't really rub in everyone's faces that the difference in gender or something. Like I feel belonged, actually, especially when we're in Discord or something. Everyone would go with the flow with the jokes of everyone. Although there are certain members in Noi that are scary, I won't be mentioning their names because they might see this video and they might kill me for it. But then there are some. I think Dan already knows who I fear in Noi. Right, Dan? Reply. Basta, a lot of them are fun to be with, and they're actually very helpful. They answer to your queries. Right, Dan. So you get, I have someone that I fear in like I think 2 people or something. Going back, they're actually very helpful. The pro people in competitive programming community, in the Noi community in general, are so open about helping other people. They would share resources. whenever you ask something, especially if they're math lords, like whenever I ask them about certain math aspects, they would always readily reply to me, and they're so open and willing to share their knowledge to everyone, which is really, really nice. And then it's not all about competitive programming in the Noi Discord server, I swear. There would be times that, we would just tell our stories, we would shit post, we would oh my god, there was this one time, there's this really funny time. Yeah, AMQ. Oh god. If you guys know AMQ, it's anime music quiz. You know the website. You can try to search it. It's technically a place wherein you guys merge your anime anime list, my anime list, your mal account, and then the room would play the openings and endings and insert songs of a certain anime, and then you guys, yeah, drop your mouse in the chat. Let's do an AMQ. And then it was like one of our hangouts before in Noi. Like, so someone would just tell that Andrew would just tell everyone na, hey, let's do an AMQ at this time, and then kid you not, the coaches actually join. Sir Kevin, Sir Vernon, Sir Python, they all joined the AMQ. And then, we would tell to each other, why do we have that opening here? Like, High School DxD, Bakemonogatari, those animes that are really questionable. But, it's a really fun place, actually, if you try to go to the Noi Discord server. You guys can go there, actually. You can send an email to Noi and ask them to join the server, and they would readily let you guys in. So yeah.
Thank you. All right, now one last question. How did you get over burnout from competitive programming?
Oh, this is a
And
spicy one.
advice you could give to those in the similar situation that you
Who
went
asked?
through?
Who asked the question? Oh my god.
Oh, we have 7 more questions pala. Oh yeah, don't
Oh,
worry. Yeah. You can
it's
answer
fine.
that
It's
first.
fine.
Nothing.
It's fine. It's fine. Actually, let's take our time. Burnout. Oh, this is actually pretty hard. To be honest, I myself is still in the process of, not really getting over the burnout, but trying to ease it. But then, personally, for me, if you're suffering for burnout, with burnout, I guess try to divert programming, because I know how stressful, I know how intimidating, how tiring, how time consuming. No joke, it's there would be times in my competitive programming journey that I'm not really proud of, because it made me lose a touch of self-care, because I would usually skip meals in order to focus on coding. I would sleep late. I would be like a wasted zombie by tomorrow, because I just spent the whole night practicing. My pirates know these stories so much, because they would see me in the middle of the night, like from 12 to 4, on my laptop in my dormitory, with the laptop, with my laptop's alight, just doing this, and like looking like a zombie, and then just grabbing the nearest coffee mug that I have. And it kind of continued a lot. Not it kind of continued a lot, and then it really burned me out. Like, it made me realize, like, oh my god, I should be taking care of myself more. I shouldn't be so. Passion is good, guys. I tell you, passion can drive you, can drive you to be a better uh, person you are, that you envision in your certain field. But then sometimes, please do take care of yourselves. I know we sometimes strive too much, and we lose this touch of self-care, but please, I beg you guys, it's not really a good thing to do. So your health, your mental, emotional, and physical health is more important than the achievements that you could get from, you know, from from being so good at this certain field. So if you're asking about tips on how to deal with burnout, first of all, take care of yourselves. Don't want it too much to the point of neglecting your self-care. That's like the very basics of it. Uh, and then take a break from it. Do the things that you did before you did competitive programming, like, or any, any field in general. Uh, do poetry like what I did. This year I started, doing poetry again because it was like this hobby of mine that kind of got not really thrown but neglected when I did competitive programming, and now as of now it's like an outlet for me to, you know, ease myself or redeem myself from the burnout. Also talk to your friends. Talk to your bring your feelings out, because I know how hard it is to bottle up your emotions. You're burned out, thinking that no one would understand the struggle because they don't do this. No one will ever get the feeling of burnout in this certain field because they do not do it. No, it doesn't work that way. Always remember that your friends will always be there for you. They will listen to your, you know, struggles. They can actually help you in redeeming yourself. I tell you guys, it's like super important. The emotional support I got from the people I'm close with when I was pausing from competitive programming helped me so much to regain my sanity. Not kidding. And if you feel all right, not really all right because I know it's never gonna be all right. But if you feel at least, less tired or less burnt out or something, you can slowly go back to your pace, start from easy problems, and then build it up all through the way up until you regain your usual, the usual difficulty that you usually solve or tackle when you do your field or something. And that's it.
All right. Next. Um, from someone who has made web and mobile apps, how can one switch to the mindset of solving competitive programming problems?
Mm. Hmm. Uh, Actually, as a person that did both of that, I didn't really do uh, mobile app, but I did do web development. And you can see the difference between the both of them. I'm more familiar with the process on how to shift from competitive programming to web dev, because that's technically how my life went in a sense. But I guess what you need to start to do is that you when you do web development kasi you care more about the structure. You care more about the design. You care more about the actual look. So it's more of the aesthetics and the beauty and the art of your certain site. But then in competitive programming, there is still an art to it, but it's not with the structure. It's with the solution. It's with the beauty of optimization. There's the elegance of setting a very low asymptotic. In competitive analysis, it's with the solution of optimization. A very low asymptotic. The it's really more of the process or the step by step path of your code or something, because with the aesthetics you deal with the UX and the UI, you deal with how it would look. So it's more of the aesthetics, but then in competitive programming you need to mind about how fast this certain thing would go. So it's a major shift, and I know it's a really hard transition, but then start familiarizing yourself first with algorithms and data structures, and then you're gonna be free to go.
All right, all right. Hope that helps to the person who asked that. Okay. Wow, there's a lot. Actually, two people asked, what's the longest time you've spent on a competitive program? Oh, one person for that. Competitive programming problem. Longest time you've spent on problem.
Problem. Okay.
Is it the ant one?
Hmm.
Or
I don't think it's this one. I definitely put a lot of time on this, but then I know it's not this one. I think it's definitely a month. I think I I was just starting that time, and I had this problem in Yuva, but I can't remember what the problem was. But I know that I really spent a lot of time solving that. It was so long and hard for me that time that I started solving it for 6 days or 2 weeks. But then like it was so I couldn't grasp the solution in my mind to the point that I stopped entirely for like a month or two. I know I started solving it in December, and then I solved it by mid-January or something. I can't really recall what the problem was, but I think it was some data structure problem, I guess. But then that really took a lot of time, and you know, this is this is a tip that everyone can use. If you're stuck at a certain problem, drop your keyboard, drop your laptop, just go on with your life first, and then try to come back at it. Let's say a month or a week or two, because it would refresh your mind. It would refresh your thought patterns or how you view the problem. Because if you keep on staring at a certain problem, certain biases in your mind would already be in there, like I should do this, I should do that, how should I apply this, how should I apply that. Sometimes you just need a hard reset in solving things. I tell you, the hard reset is so helpful, and it will help you. So just stop doing it for a while and then continue it by the next one. That's
All
it.
right, all right. Now, the next question is, how do you stay motivated as a competitive programmer?
Co- Motivated. It's so funny because I started competitive programming because because of how people motivated and encouraged me. But I stayed because of the euphoria I felt whenever I solved certain problems in competitive programming. Like, the satisfaction is so wild. It's so different, and it's just so satisfying whenever you solve a certain problem. What would motivate me the most is most probably the fact that there's a there's less women participating in competitive programming, and it would be like a whole the coin when it comes to the ratio of them if you try to join. And then also another motivation that I had is the support that I get from my friends. They would really tell me that you can do this, you can do that, don't feel nervous. We know when it comes to ratio of them, if you try to join, you can overcome this hurdle, etc., etc. And then actually the Noi community in general is very helpful to keep yourself motivated in competitive programming. Also, what else? Try to set goals in your usual routines in programming. If you remembered earlier, there's this kind of graph thingy in my Code Forces account. Wait lang. Let me try to share it with you guys. Oh my god. Uh, there's these levels, quote unquote, in competitive programming. Early in competitive, there's these goals. Yeah, like you can see these. Oh my god, I forgive me for the constantly going down ranking. I know it sucks. uh uh you can use this as a motivation to get fired up, or um aim higher, because the higher your color is from this graph, uh in short, kumbaga, the more harder problems you can solve. It's technically like a level thing. The more you win, yeah, the more you win, the more point you get when you won competitions or runs, the higher your rank gets. And you can use that as a motivation from yourself, like getting that red username, being a red coder in Code Forces, or being an orange one or something. Also, you can use Noi and IOI as your motivation. It's like a really good yourself, uh do a long term, you know goal that you can follow all throughout the years.
Okay. Wow, a lot of more questions regarding people. How did you go about building a network now for competitive programming here? How do you get like connected with the local scene?
With what?
Building a network for competitive programming. I think dapat like people, network of people, connections.
Ah,
Yeah.
connections. It's it just really started out with one person. Like this Francisista. He was my not really, is it should I call it like personal trainer or something? But he was the one who actually encouraged me to do competitive programming because he showed me certain problems on HackerRank. I'm like, oh, what's that? Oh, that's cool. Okay, and then from there I got myself into the Noy community, and that's it. You make friends, you talk to them, you join competitions, you go to schools that has this strong competitive programming base, aka Ateneo. I think most of the connections I have in competitive programming came from Ateneo, especially their programming varsity. Guys, programming varsity is so good. I love programming varsity so much. The community there, the people in there, the coaches, Sir Vernon, Ma'am Didit. Yes, as in they're so nice and they're really open about making connections with everyone. Teaching not really newbies or people who are new to competitive programming, they're open about it, and so you can just really go into their DMs and then hit them up and then ask about things, and then you get the connection. But then I think majority of the connections I had are from the competitions I attended before, because you can make a lot of friends when you join competitions in competitive programming. You can meet people, you can immerse yourself in the field, you can get to know them. So there's that.
Okay. Now, more about girls naman. What do you think is needed for more girls to join NOI? Like, if you could change anything about the current NOI scene for more girls to join, would it,
Can you repeat the question?
what do you think is needed for more girls to join NOI?
I think it should definitely would be not really the pressure, but more of the encouragement for women to join. Because not gonna lie, in our school, in our campus specifically, competitive programming is not really that tackled or taught or something. But I guess it should be that you have in your school in general. Like someone should start this uh base, competitive programming base in your school. Uh, Thank you so much for attending the call also, Pawi. It's such an honor. Going back, I think it should really start at your school about encouraging people, encouraging students, just encouraging everyone to join. I know encouraging doesn't do much of a lot, but showing your support can make a huge difference, especially for my experience. The support I got from my coach. Shout out to Mom Sheena Dawn Ferraran for being such an amazing coach for 2 years already. She's the one who really opened my eyes in joining comsci and competitive programming. She's like the mother I had in school, and she just really motivated me to do everything, to do my best, etc. So you should get that kind of support system. If you should establish that kind of vibe, environment in your school, if you really wanted to encourage people, especially women, to join. um, Also, I think it would be rooted. I know the clock again. It should be rooted with the uh, not pushing girls or not discouraging them to join CS because it's an all boys club thing or whatnot, and not pushing them to other Olympiads. I think it should be, um, really encouraging them that there's so much more to computer science than making games and making websites and making applications. Yeah, I think that would be it.
Ooh, okay. Um, this is a pretty light question. How frequently did you practice when you were super active? And how many hours a day?
Oh my god. This is ooh, uh I won't give the actual hours, but I guess imagine doing imagine practicing during lunch break, uh recess, whenever there's free time, after classes, right after going back at the dorm, you practice right away, and then getting a little bit of sleep, I guess, and then waking up in the middle of the night just to continue practicing. It was really that, yeah, it was that frequent. Like, outside, if I don't have any academic responsibilities, I would open my laptop right away and then just start ramming my keyboard, going to HackerRank and Code Forces and Code Chef, etc. uh there was this one time that I didn't go home and I stayed at the dorm, and this was the time that I didn't have my laptop yet. But then I was so desperate to practice to the point that I borrowed this laptop from our dorm manager that is used to print documents, because we have this printing station in our dormitory, and I just borrowed the laptop outright for the whole weekend. And I think I spent an all-nighter just trying to solve problems, because it was the only resource I had, and so I maximized the opportunity by staying up all night. I know it's super unhealthy, guys, because I was running on Copic 78 and Lipovitan during night time whenever I practice. And I don't recommend it, actually. Do it whenever you feel like it. But then, before, for me, I really felt like it, like, doing competitive programming all the time. I was so into it. I was so obsessed to it. Then, I technically threw my self-care that time. Yeah, it's bad, but, there's that.
All right. Thank you so much for answering that. So that's it for our student tech talk tonight. Again, thank you everyone for
Yay!
going and engaging with us and learning. It's a great learning experience. Thank you so much for the
Thank you
presentation.
so much, everyone, for going. This is so a nice opportunity. I was so afraid, actually. Let me just have this confession. I was so afraid to do this talk because I've taken this whole year of not doing anything related to competitive programming. I was doing comp sci this year just because I had the subject. That's it. I didn't do it because I wanted to practice. I didn't do it because I wanted to. It was just, out of compliance. Yeah, that's it. I just did it out of compliance. And I was so afraid on how this talk would go because, maybe I would have forgotten some stuff. Maybe I would read out things wrong. Maybe I would get uh, certain facts wrong. Maybe I would get outdated or something, to the point that I actually consulted a lot of people from my, connection list, and then asking them, should I really do this? Should I really do that? Is it okay? Would I not, you know, make a fool out of myself because it's been a year since I coded or something? And so I'm really thankful for everyone for inviting me and listening to my talk. And I'm so glad it went this way. And your questions are really great. They were, the insights were really amazing. So I thank you, everyone.
Thank you guys. We'll be uploading the recording of this in a few.
Aw, thank you. Yeah, thank you
Keep
so much
safe,
again, Joan.
everyone.
It's like,
Also.
yeah, it was such a no-brainer to invite you. So for context, Joan was like a developed core member, and she was also our VP for computing, whatever that role was supposed to do for a year. And I don't know, it's been great, and I can really see like not only your individual skill, but also this desire to get more people involved and to inform and spread and just communicate the work. And like the process of getting into competitive programming to more people, and it's been so nice to hear your story and hear you articulate like your thought process and what you
Thank
think needs to be
you.
done about this scene, as well as just like giving us like this technical deep dive into like the fundamentals of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you
We'll be,
also.
we'll be sharing her slides. She also compiled like a really, really good collection of resources on the Google Drive. I'll send it now. But then also we're going to be having a recording of this talk, and yeah, we'll be
Yay.
uploading everything. If you're not part of the Facebook group yet, I encourage you to join. Just make sure you like answer the questions. It's where we post like more updates, and we're going to archive all the things that happen. We have more events coming up. In particular, we have a workshop tomorrow, same time at 8, hosted
Yay.
by me, about making games. So yeah,
Yay.
thank you all so much for coming. This was amazing. Thank you
Thank
again, Joan. This was
you.
so good.
Thank you so much. I also thank you guys for inviting me. This was also like a great opportunity. Like it was like a wake up call. And actually, it's so funny. This was so tired because I was like, in on the edge of insanity because I couldn't do stuff here at my house because of the pandemic, and then actually having to discuss about your passion is really nice.
I hope this helped. Yeah, I was worried that I don't know. I didn't want to stress you out, yeah, because I knew you were on break. So I'm glad that this is a good opportunity for you to like try to get back into things. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank Question.